You don't acknowledge
I'm
me when I
asking
talk.
you.
Don't
All I
accept
hear
my
from you
information.
is
I give
words.
you-
I
I give
never
you-
hear.
I give you
I
data.
never hear
Yeah.
any.
Yeah,
Grimby,
but-
all I get from you is words. I never hear anything about talking, giving. I can wrap my hands around. Let's talk about the Earth
I gave it
orbiting
to
the
you
sun.
in a
I
written
can look at.
form
I can
already.
calculate the
being a
force of attraction necessary due to the standard gravitational field
you
to hold the Earth in orbit about the sun.
You
Now
can't.
you're telling me that there's more to it than that. Now
Wish you
tell
could,
me,
George, but
what
you
is the
can't.
relative magnitude of
I
these
gave it to
other
you, George.
components of the
George, listen. What's wrong with
You're
you?
breaking up, George. We can't hear you, George. You're breaking up. Okay, I'd like to ask my question.
Something because I'm fucking talking to him and I'm telling him
Yeah,
that
he's-
I've
he's
given
breaking-
him that information.
He probably can't hear you at the moment. He seems to be breaking up. Mr.
matter.
Grimby, the key question is: are you trying to substitute? Because we've discovered
Rumpus,
that we
did you
need this
look
thing
at
called
the
dark
Alpine wave
matter.
information? Did you look at it?
Right. Sorry.
Did you look at the Alpine wave information?
Yes, I'm looking. I've been reading a bit of that.
All
I'm
right,
just
did
reading
you
a
read about how
Wikipedia.
it's another way of
Well, hold on.
energy
Hold on.
transfer
Can I just ask my question? Yeah, I'll come back. That's just my question. Are
about
you trying to substitute what we have decided is dark matter to account for the attraction between bits of the galaxy and the
dark energy?
No, let's not get into dark energy. That's something else. So, are you trying to substitute the missing deficiency, the gravitational deficit that exists in? Bloody hell! Can I finish my question? Are
Because
you
we're
trying?
not
And
done
Nathan,
with
making,
the first one, asshole.
who's making the Nathan? You turn your mic down.
Starting another question. You're starting another question.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to ask one question here, and I'm not. Nathan, you've got an open mic here. Nathan, could you turn your? Thank God. Right. The simple question is: we use dark matter to substitute for what seems to be a missing mass. Are you trying to use the electric universe to account for that missing attractive force that we, in the standard model, use dark matter to account for?
Absolutely.
Right. Jesus Christ! If you just let me answer.
I've been telling you that for the past 10 minutes.
Well, I'm just making sure. So that's what you haven't made it that clear, and I'm just now we've sort of got somewhere.
It would have been a lot more clear if I hadn't been interrupted by George constantly.
Well, no, actually, I would boil it down to the sentence: as we see the electric universe as actually a solution to the missing mass of the universe that we find in the current gravitational model.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Well, no, that's not what you're saying.
It actually is. I'm not saying it replaces gravity. I said along with gravity.
Right. So you're saying it's a dark matter substitute is effectively what you're saying.
Basically, yeah.
Right. Okay. You could have. Well, you are very poor. Nathan, we can't hear you. You're breaking up or something. You're not. Your microphone is crap. We cannot hear you.
It's really not working today, Nathan.
Yes, but unfortunately, there's absolutely no evidence of what you're talking about. You're talking about these.
There is though. You mean absolutely no evidence? That's all I've been doing is showing you evidence.
You haven't given us any. Okay, you've mentioned Alpine waves, which I'm having a look at, and you've mentioned the magnetic ropes to Saturn, but none of these are responsible for the forces between the planets. I mean, I don't know if you're implying. So, are you implying that part of Saturn's attraction to the Sun is caused by these magnetic ropes? Is that what you're claiming?
No, I'm talking about its spacing in its orbit. Right. It could be very.
Okay, so you're not saying that that's an attractive force between the Sun and Saturn. Is that correct?
No, we're not saying it's an attractive. We're saying it's a static. It's putting it in its place. It's not.
This is just gibberish. This is just gibberish. Is there a force? Is there a force resulting from these magnetic ropes between the Sun and the Saturn? It's a simple question.
You don't understand what my point is. That force isn't trying to pull it.
Can I help?
Oh my fucking God! Please don't interrupt me. Please.
Come on.
Help. I'm already trying to.
I can boil this down simply, so I know what you mean.
I don't need another guy. I'm going to mute you. That way I don't have to hear you, and it's not going to be your fault.
You can't mute in here.
Well, no, I can. I can physically mute you from myself. I can.
Okay.
Yeah, Joss, you're a much better advocate for his position than he is.
Yeah.
I was only trying to help because actually in the study that I read.
Please don't interrupt me.
Go on, you go on, Grim, and then I'll go after you. Go on,
Grim. You don't respect other people's speak, so why should other people respect you?
I've been very patient.
All right, fuck it then. Go ahead, everybody. Just doesn't.
Well,
matter.
you don't. Why don't you just learn how to act like an adult?
Go ahead.
Just act like an adult.
Well, I was trying, but I guess it doesn't.
No,
work
you don't. You don't. You talk over people.
Here I still am. I'm giving up, and that's not acting like an adult either. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well,
okay, I mean, all I was going to say is,
if I don't, doesn't matter. Go ahead.
All I was going to say, Grim, was this: is when I read that article, one of the things that it says is
which article was that?
The waves coming out of the sun with the magnetic ropes.
The Alvin.
That so what I read from that really is there's particles coming out, and it's actually inducting quite a lot of energy through the Earth's magnetic sphere. Yeah, as those waves pass, they take 1 to 3 days to pass from the sun, and then they hit the Earth's magnetosphere, and that imparts a lot of energy from the sun, and there's a magnetic connection, and this is why they're calling them magnetic ropes.
They talk to Saturn. If you got confused when you asked you that, the article about the magnetic ropes is to do with Saturn.
No, this was actually about particles coming from the sun out in magnetic ropes. It was another article I found. I'll find it.
You found another one. So okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm confused.
It's okay. Sorry.
And I just thought that was actually a really interesting point. I'll just repost the link. Brenda posted it earlier.
Oh right. Sorry. Okay, I didn't know which one.
Sorry, I've been reading while you guys have all been arguing with each other. I also want to say that everyone owes Jose an apology that was speaking over him when he was trying to do the end up. That was not nice. But that was the point I made. So that I thought was an interesting point, and I thought that's what you were trying to say, Grim, is the fact that it's imparting energy through these magnetic connections through the universe. That's giving us a charge. That charge is helping maintain our position. Hence, you have the separation between the planets, and we see the kind of formation and the ring formation that we have within our solar system, and that's the influence of the magnetosphere of the sun through these ropes upon the planets.
Absolutely right.
Trust me, mate. I don't fuck people over.
I didn't know who was talking in the first place, but yeah, I was getting just trampled on, and it's so frustrating, you know.
Right, so but you do not claim that these magnetic ropes are the cause of the attraction between the sun and Saturn, for instance. Is that
not at all,
right?
no. But I'm saying they can be having an effect on the rotational velocity of the planet itself. There could be a mechanism for why it spins. It could be a mechanism for why it stays in the actual orbit that it is, and it might not.
Hold on, if it stays in the orbit, there has to be an attractive issue.
Well, after Mars, we have a problem with Newtonian physics.
No, we don't. Absolutely not.
Well, no, we invoke Kepler's law. When he's talking about Newtonian physics, there is a problem in describing the orbits of multiple objects within a single model. That's why Kepler came in and won, as I remember from school.
Right, it's true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I think that's what Grim's saying there.
I don't understand what you said. What are you saying? In what way is Kepler's what way don't we understand the orbit?
Newton had a problem describing multiple objects describing the orbits of multiple objects. And that's as I understand it. I'm not a mathematician.
What way? What I sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
As I understand it, Newton's law, the laws of motion, as Newton described them, had problems. It could describe the orbital motion of one body, but it couldn't account for the gravitational effects of other bodies upon that body in motion.
Well, we do have problems with multi-body systems because the maths gets very complicated. If that's what you mean.
That's where Kepler came in, because as I understood it, Kepler solved that problem.
No, Kepler came. Newton came after Kepler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Newton used Kepler's observations.
I'm mixing my mathematicians.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even solve multi-body problems now because it's a chaotic system. We have it's the classic chaotic system where you can't model it. But fortunately, with we can't model the solar system exactly. We can't even predict, for instance, whether or not the planets will eventually, after 3 billion years or so, hit one another. We do not have the means to do that because it's a chaotic system. But we do know from day to day or year to year what the planets are going to do and where they're going to be, and we've modelled that, and that has not required any modification of Newton's laws to do that.
Except for when you get outside and start going into larger arenas, and all of a sudden we got problems, right?
Well, we have problems with you need this extra mass because we know. The reason we believe there to be a deficiency in the mass that's holding galaxies together is because we know how much mass was created in the universe, and we know that there's more mass we know how many neutrons and the standard particles. We know how many of they were created, and there was more mass in the universe than we know was created at the start of normal particles. So therefore, there is this other stuff that has mass that we can see in, for instance, if you add up the mass we can see in the galaxies, it's more than we know of the normal conventional matter that was created at the start. And we know the amount of matter that was created at the start of the conventional things from the cosmic microwave background radiation. We can work out the number of protons, the number of neutrons that were created at the start of the universe. And then we go and look at the galaxies, and we see there's more out there of mass than that can be accounted for with protons and neutrons. So there must be something else there that's accounting for this mass. So that's a problem. But once you just say these particles have mass, then
sorry, that was a compliment because I just fact checked everything you fucking said and it was bang on, you bastard.
sorry, Dress. I was thinking there was a jibe. I was thinking it was a jibe from just. That was rather unusual. Just to behave so sort of spiteful. That's unusual.
You know, I don't know what you think you're doing right now because it's like it just doesn't make any sense that you don't realize that they assumed these theories back when they said that there was no medium in space for intergalactic magnetic fields, or there was no medium.
It's a vacuum.
Yeah, but it's not a vacuum. Dude, are you clearly unaware of what's happening in physics today?
It is a vacuum. Unless you're talking about virtual particles.
It's not a vacuum, dude. That's where you're wrong.
It is a vacuum.
No, there are. It's not.
Okay, there's one hydrogen.
It's connecting fucking everything together to everything.
Well, not everywhere. I mean, obviously, but
there's plasma medium that forms itself into.
Well, obviously, there are filaments. Some galaxies connect with one. I don't dispute that, but I mean, generally, these are bodies within a vacuum. No, so where obviously, there's a hydrogen. I think even out of space. Let me just. I've got 5 more seconds, Nathan. There is a density of about, I think, 1 hydrogen atom per cubic meter, even into a deep space. If that's what you mean by not a vacuum, then I would agree with that.
No, what I'm talking about is the things that are connected, like stars, quasars, galaxies.
Some are.
They are all in a plasma. All of them.
No.
Oh yeah, they are. What do you think they are in the first place?
Citation, please. That's complete bollocks.
Oh, okay. Well, you haven't seen the cosmic web information. You're just really not up to date on any of the new stuff.
Well, unless it's some sort of electric universe.
Stars with their alignment to the cosmic web. I mean, all of that is a necessity for the electric universe, and
which means that's why it's bollocks.
A mystery for you. Yeah, but it happened. It's not bollocks. It's bollocks because it happened.
When you say happened, you mean exists? I mean, happen is an event. When you say something happens, that's an event, or are you saying something exists, which is something different?
It's something that exists and happened, obviously, because it exists.
So what are you saying exists? You're saying that you're saying cosmic web is your thing. That's what you're claiming exists.
Grim, you're gonna realize how stupid these ballers are real fast, dude.
I didn't know. I thought they had more to them than this.
Bro, well, they were so sad, dude. I feel bad for you. My heart is bleeding right now, dude. Like,
yeah, it breaks my heart.
Like they're so dogmatic, they can't grasp anything, and then they'll ask
their own theories.
They'll ask their own theories. They asked you a week ago, and you just explained it for an hour, and they're asking you questions about what you just explained for an hour. It's ridiculous, dude. It's so unfathomable.
There are connections between galaxies, yes, but no one's disputing that.
No, yeah, it's a mystery in your model. What do you mean no one's disputing it? This is
the fact that there are
elementary connections. You and I have been disputing this for 20 minutes right now, personally. So what do you mean no one? Well, I mean, you personally are disputing it, motherfucker. Seriously.
Well, no, I'm disputing. Well, no, the thing we'll be disputing with you is things like the trouble is your claims are so ambiguous and difficult to pin down. You do say sometimes that there is some sort of, you hold Saturn, I think you were saying, the rotation of it's being affected by these ropes.
You're deflecting, because what I was talking about was the alignment of quasars across billions of light years on the cosmic web. That's what I was talking about. And
when you say the alignment, are you just talking about the filaments that exist?
Here's another link of another thing that another time that I'm explaining something and showing you something that nobody knew in this panel.
I know about the cosmic web, Grim, and I understand about that. I've read the story.
Oh, right. You understand about the filaments. Oh, now you know about them.
No. I was aware of these filaments exist, but you're claiming that the medium.
I said all the quasars were connected by filaments in a cosmic web.
Well, they're not all connected by filaments. No, that's incorrect.
Now you just backpedaled and said,
okay. Let me get it again. Let me make myself clear. That's not being clear. All quasars are not connected by filaments, but there are filaments there. But they just happen to exist.
Yeah, they are. You're just not reading. You're not being able to see the filaments at that time, but they are connected by filaments.
No, not. So you're claiming all the quasars in the universe
claiming that
are connected.
They absolutely have to be. That's why they're quasars. That's right.
Right. So let me just get absolutely correct. You're claiming that all the quasars in the universe are connected by filaments. Is that correct?
Yes, I am saying that. Not to
that sounds like filaments to me.
Something. By galaxies or by filaments. And it's not that you're going to just always be able to see the filaments, obviously. So if you find an image of one and you don't see a filament from billions of light years away, you don't need to just all of a sudden say that means that there is no filament.
Okay, I'd accept that. No, I'd accept that. I would accept that. That's perfectly valid to say that we're not going to be able to see all the filaments that might exist. But there are going to be many well-separated quasars that have nothing resembling filaments or even close to them connected. Yeah, but I've never disputed it. I've been known about galactic filaments.
If you're imaging it with the wrong imagery, then yes, you're going to see that there are no filaments because you can't see the filaments. They're not all in straight visible light, right? But you can see the radio emissions of these filaments, and this is what we're looking at, dude. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Stars emit radio waves. Yeah, we know that. That's not special.
Yeah, I know. Well, it doesn't need to be special. It's the filaments, those radio waves, connecting to something else. They're not just
something else.
That's right. Along the cosmic web. Something else.
Just to clarify, what's the point of these filaments? What are these filaments doing?
We don't know.
These are the transference of energy that we're saying that's happening in the electric universe, and that it's not a homogeneous amount. So when they're saying what are the plasma densities, this is the whole reason for this argument, because George says the plasma densities was very important because he wanted to say, well, the plasma density isn't strong enough in between such and such and such and such. But what he failed to mention that in any of his equations or ideas of even so inside stuff, Earth Sun connection, is those what I called showed as magnetic ropes, or I call them field line currents that actually exist that go from the sun to the Earth, do have some involvement that are not being added to the equation at this moment in modern standard physics, even though now we've discovered this.
Sorry, they're transferring energy from one place to another, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got a voltage flow along a conductor, yeah?
Just the conductor is plasma, that's right. And the plasma densities are drawn towards
so when it gets to a sun, you're aware that if you've got a voltage, if you've got current flowing through a conductor, you can't have a dipole magnet in the middle of it because the magnetic field would break down. You're aware of that. So if it goes to the next sun,
it's not a permanent magnet, my friend. The magnet is actually not caused by the Earth being a permanent magnet like in the standard model. So that's the false assumption from that paradigm. You change your axiom and realize that the magnetic field is actually created by the current passing through the Earth from the sun.
Yes, but the magnetic field will be toroidal if it's passing through a conductor.
Right, and
it won't be dipolar as it is on the Earth and the sun.
Well, see, that is if it's only one layer. If it doubles in its layers and becomes more than one layer, then it most certainly could.
Well, would you have any evidence of that? Have you got a citation of that happens?
Langmuir, double layers in plasma. We do have that. It's been known for a very long time. And the magnetosphere, what we have, F4 layer now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, several different layers we know of. In our magnetosphere. So we do know that we have those multiple layers, so that we can't just rule all of that out.
But Grim, all those multiple layers are dipolar, though, aren't they?
This is going to be really hard for me because I'm not trying to prove this, but what I am
I'm actually just asking questions because I'm actually genuinely interested. It's kind of interesting kind of thought.
Yeah, as am I. Yeah, very interesting.
So it's not malicious at all. If I wanted to be malicious, I'd say, why don't we see repeated double exploding supernovas everywhere? That would be an arsehole question. I'm not asking that. Thought of it, discarded it, moved on.
Can I just ask as well, what's generating the current that's traveling along? I mean, where's it coming from?
Well, I mean, these are all interesting questions. All we can do is talk, all I can really point to are the things that we do know is happening and try to,
Surely you must have the source for the current. I mean, that's a lot of current. If you're going to jump from one galaxy to another, that's going to take a hell of a lot of current. Surely somewhere in your model, you must predict where that current comes from, yeah?
Well, the current flows across the plasma.
You see the cosmic web there? All the galaxies and quasars and everything, they're all along those filaments. That's where all everything is. So that's what the point is of all of that. That those are the electrified areas, and that within them are many little connections. The
joules alone that you're talking about to jump from one galaxy to another would be massive. That couldn't be sustained by a sun. I mean, you're talking about millions and millions of amps per second to jump from one place to another. The sun doesn't produce that kind of energy. So my question is, what does?
Well, it's not the sun producing it. That's what thank you. Okay, because we don't say that either. The sun is like a Z-pinch within a current. The current is coming from everything else. All the movement of everything moving in a plasma induces current. And you're spreading it out over such a huge area. I mean, there's just so much.
But that would make an incredibly small current. It wouldn't make a massive current. Locally, it would be a massive current, like here on Earth. But if you jump that current to another galaxy, you're going to lose almost, because amps push voltage through resistance. So you're going to lose loads of current just jumping that distance alone.
Well, you would think that, but it doesn't seem to work that way because it's fractal. So there's a circuit inside of a circuit inside of a circuit, and actually no one actually understands how any of that works yet, because some of the most famous quotes from plasma physicists are that they have all of this, I'm going to paraphrase it, but they have all this eloquent math and all of these beautiful theories that they've written for plasma, if now they could just teach it to the plasma.
I've figured out a really good Steelman argument for you for that problem. And gently, you can correct me on this, because I think your electricity is probably a bit better than mine. It's a good 30 years since I even thought about any of this.
I'm into 2 decades myself, but...
Hey, George,
let me just finish this point.
No, I'm saying when you're finished, I'd like to talk to Grim V.
So here's what you could say. So we know that, the temperatures in intergalactic space is extremely cold. And we know that extreme cold does funny things to electricity.
Wait,
what are the filament levels? And I would just really like to finish my fucking point, Nathan. Thank you.
An NASA astronomer saying,
I'm going to go ahead and say
I don't give a fuck.
I'm going to say I don't know the answer to that. Absolutely.
Don't worry about it. Go on, Nathan. You butt into George.
No, hey, I was next here. I was next here. I asked.
I know. I was being sarcastic, George.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
I have a video.
Now, Grimby, please listen. I've asked you this for over a year now, and I'd really like to have an answer from you or some other Electric Universe person. Now, consider.
Have you tried going to the forum yet?
Just a minute. Will you please let me finish?
I mean, because Wallace Thornhill would.
Will you please be quiet and let me ask you a question? Now, I can use the standard model, the heliocentric model, Newton's force laws, the gravitational force law, and I can compute the forces that are responsible. Will you shut up, Arwen? I can compute the forces that are responsible for holding the Earth in the orbit about the sun. It works perfectly. It explains everything. Now, if there are other forces and entities responsible for holding the Earth in orbit about the sun, or any other planet or any other body that you claim to be responsible, I'd like to know, how do I compute that? I've looked at the Biot-Savart law. I've looked at Ampere's law. I've looked at your magnetic ropes. There is no way those can create a force field strong enough to hold the Earth in about orbit about the sun like gravity does. I want to know, in your theory, how do I apply your theory, your equations, so that I can compute the relative magnitudes of those forces compared to the forces of gravity? I just want something very simple. I want to know what are the relative.
I think the question is clear now,
Shut up, Arwen.
No, you shut up. It's clear. Stop dragging.
Very clear.
I'm not. I'm just saying I want to know what are the relative magnitudes of these additional forces you're talking about compared to gravity.
Okay, now there we go. See,
you may not know, of course.
Well, no, here's the deal. The way he phrased that was a setup, because we don't say it's
oh God,
force that's making the orbits of the planets around the sun. We say that's
why don't you just say you don't know, Mr. Grimby, and then we can end.
Let him answer the question, Rumpus.
We say it's gravity. Gravity. We believe in gravity in the electric universe. We say gravity is responsible. It is the same example that goes around for the planets around the star. It's outside of the star in the relationship to the galaxy itself and the rotational velocity of galaxies and how stars interact with each other, being that they are positively charged entities with their huge positively charged fields that repel one another from another or can attract one another to another, depending on, you know.
So you're saying these fields work on a galactic level, but they don't work on a local level within the solar system?
Yes, because it's an addition to gravity, not a replacement for gravity.
George, we established earlier that he basically thinks it's a substitute for dark matter. Where we have a mass deficiency, where we've now put in dark matter, he's claiming that the electric universe comes in and substitutes for the areas where there is that deficiency in a force.
But wouldn't we also be able to detect it on a local level? Wouldn't we also have these effects on a local level?
I don't know. Obviously, it's a silly theory, but presumably he believes it has to be on a galactic scale.
The thing about it being silly is that there's the same rotational velocities in orbits within a plasma, with objects that are,
rotational velocity.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, the observations there, that's fairly well supported.
I don't claim that it's different because I don't know. I don't know how to know right now. But I know that both things are examples of explanations, and one of them is overlooked.
But what are we trying to explain? Are we trying to explain the deficiency and explain where dark matter, dark energy comes in, or are we trying to explain?
He's trying to substitute for it.
Okay,
a different configuration.
How about on the local level? Where are we on the local level with this?
But we don't need dark matter on the local level, do we, George?
Listen, for your gravity to be wrong, all you have to do is be wrong about any of the masses of any of your planets, and then the gravity problem could be wrong. So in order
standard model work.
Hold on. So in order for your perfect gravity to be perfect, you have to assume that the masses that you declared these planets to be are true. So you don't know if it's true or not, dude.
Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes,
no, you don't.
Fuck you.
We've got the standard gravitation parameter that we can ascertain for any of these planets by just orbiting a satellite about them and knowing.
The comets had to be fluffy, dirty snowballs in order to maintain some of the orbits around the sun that they maintained. But we landed on them and found out they were fucking rocks.
Well, we've landed on them and found out they were rocks. Yeah, no, we landed on them and found they were ice.
See, for a lot of
we landed on them and found they were ice.
No, they were not ice. They were rocks, and that there's a lot of the water production was happening electrochemically. That's why these short-lived fucking hydrocarbons or isotopes were present, because it was being rapidly produced on the fucking rock through electrochemical reactions. And I showed a mechanism for that and why the surrounding plasmas would act as a catalyst.
Do you know what an isotope is?
See, this is all just words. You've never shown us any equations or anything that we could put values in.
Isotope. Mr. Grimby, you just used the word isotope. Hold on. I want to ask Mr. Grimby a question. You just used the word isotope. Do you know what that means?
No, absolutely not. I have no idea. I just used the word for no reason.
Wow, dude, they asked.
Well, there we go. I think that says it all. And if you're joking, if you're joking, you're trying to cover up the fact you don't know what it means.
Sure, Ben.
Hey, Grim, can you define perspective?
No, absolutely not. I can't see where I would even start from that description.
Well, you're going to throw around words like isotope, I'm afraid, Mr. Grimby. You're going to have to understand what they are. And I know you're joking when you say you've never heard of it, but I suspect you really don't know what an isotope is. And you can't just throw around these words, which you half the words, well, 3/4 of the words you use, you don't understand what they mean.
Oh, God.
Listen, you absolutely. I'm not going to let you carry on with this nonsense. Absolutely, of course, I know what isotope.
It's not nonsense.
Tell me then. Okay, tell me what
I
an
use
isotope
in
is.
context, in the proper context.
Tell me what an isotope is then.
All we're hearing is a descriptive.
Come on, tell me what an isotope is.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
No, come on, you just
All
said
I'm
you knew
hearing
one.
is something descriptive.
Come on, George,
I'm never
let me
hearing
answer the question.
anything
I really would love to
quantitative.
know.
All I get is all
I
this
even
qualitative
I used an
description that
example of
tell
an
me
isotope
nothing.
in the very next sentence. I said hydrocarbons are for hydroxyls. Okay, I used an example. So
exactly, and it's because you said that. Hold on, and it's because you said that means you don't understand what an isotope
is. Basically like a variant of a particular chemical or whatnot. It
No,
doesn't
it
have
isn't.
that particular.
A variance in what way?
If I'm talking about water, I'm talking about different
I think Rumpus has got a point here. What is this variance? In what way? What differentiates one isotope
Hey, you guys,
from
stop
another?
nerd raging, please. This is really
not?
getting annoying.
If hydrogen was the basis of the atom, would I not just call it a hydroxyl?
No, that's the chemical thing. You don't know what a
I
hydroxyl is.
have no idea what a hydroxyl is.
Yeah, you don't know what a hydroxyl is either. You don't know half the thing, more than that, in fact. About 75% of what you say, you clearly do not understand.
What? You talked about a variance. You talked about an isotope being a variance. What differentiates one isotope from another?
All isotopes.
What is this variance? What is the fundamental nature of this variance?
Protons, but a different number of neutrons in each atom.
You managed to Google it now, have you? Well done.
No, yeah, but it's still.
You
I'm
managed
saying.
to Google it. It took you a long time to Google it. You've now found it.
Said anything different?
You did. You talked about hydrocarbons and hydroxyls, which were completely irrelevant to isotopes. And you've now Googled it, and you've now found out what the hell you meant by isotope. So you do not know what you're talking about. It's ridiculous.
I told you isotopes are variants of particular chemical elements.
No,
that's
you didn't say that. You did not say that.
You would normally
never use the word element.
It's just a number of neutrons in the nucleus.
You just Googled it. Just admit it, Grimby.
That's exactly what I said initially.
No, you didn't. You just Googled it.
To verify if I was right, and it
just
is
Googled
right.
it. Come on, admit it. Admit it, Grimby. You just Googled it, haven't you?
I did.
Okay.
But initially, I said, before I Googled it, I told you isotopes are variants of particular chemical elements.
But that's not how
a
person would normally say
you're a fucking liar.
You talked about hydroxides.
You would not say a variance. All you'd say is
later.
A difference in the number of neutrons in the nucleus.
We got it on video, Mr. Grimby.
Yeah,
just
really quickly, guys.
But
I'm actually streaming. I'm actually streaming.
Did not know what the hell it was.
Clearly later.
No, you didn't do it. You did it after.
And explain what I'm talking about in comments.
Guys, just really quickly,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Faggots don't even know what we're still trying to talk about in the first place.
Wait a minute,
you're nothing more than like a Ken Wheeler and an Eric Dullard. It's just word salad. You're just stringing terms together. You have no idea what the sentence means.
You are also doing that, everyone. It's just a bunch of yelling now. So,
Dean, are you just telling us you're streaming this? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, and I'm recording it if anybody wants to go back and listen. I don't know the answer to it, so.
Yeah, we'll get the transcript from you, Grimby. Yeah, honestly, you don't want to overplay this, Mr. Grimby.
Oh no, you don't want to overplay it.
This is being live recorded, guys. This is live.
You don't want to overplay it. Thank God, because everybody in the chat heard me say it. You're a dumb piece of shit.
You did not say the variance of chemical elements. You talked about hydroxyls and hydrocarbons.
Come on, buddy. Put your money where your mouth is. How about you shut your YouTube channel
down? Rumpus, See, Grimby, I find no difference between you and a Ken Wheeler. All you do is you take terms, scientific terms, string them together into meaningless sentences that are either hard to understand or easy to misunderstand. They have no scientific meaning whatsoever. You are a master. You've become a master, just like Ken Wheeler, of taking terms and stringing them together in random orders.
But that's what electric universe.
Please stop the peer pressure farts, old
man. The first hurdle I was supposed to jump through today when I got here with you guys, right, was that the star went supernova twice. I was an idiot. I was wrong. Of course, I was wrong. Everyone's going to show me how I was wrong. But then I showed you how I was was right, and we ignored that and went on to another.
No, I accepted. No, Mr. Grimby, I'm prepared to accept. But
I said Alpine waves were actually found in low Earth orbit and around Earth, and they're
no, they're not. No, they only exist in the sun.
No, you're wrong. Okay, that's absolutely wrong. I showed you, and I'll show you again right now. I have the link in my fucking pocket just to give it to you.
Okay, so there's
amazing.
amazing. What does that mean?
The Earth is flat, guys. The Earth is flat.
Bruh. So I handed you that, right? And it was that this is the information that I showed you about NASA's observations reshape basic plasma wave physics. Literally says that.
At all, you guys.
Yeah.
So you're telling us that.
Here's a quote from NASA fucking scientist. What's his name?
We don't care about these quotes, Grimby. Just give me some mathematics. Give me a theory that I can look and do some computations with. You tell me I never compute anything, but yet I've looked at Ampere's law. I've looked at Biot-Savart's law. I've looked at the equations, and they are never do the fields ever come out with the intensities that you claim they should have?
George, you should probably shut your mouth because you're wrong.
No, I'm not going to shut my mouth because I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You do not.
You're straw manning. You're making up false arguments.
I'm not making up false arguments. All I'm asking, and I've asked you this for over a year, show me some mathematical equations. Show me some theory that I can put numbers in to make the computation. You have never done that.
Yes, I have.
Never provided any theory other than word salad. All I get from you, Grimby, is word salad. Never any theory. No theory whatsoever. All you have is word salad. That's all you ever give us. There's no equation.
Stop being a troll, old man.
Shut up, Arwen.
Oh, you shut up. You
don't know anything disruptive. Why don't you go back to your old channel and have a mental breakdown like before?
Is that going to make you happy, George? Why don't you go somewhere else, man?
Christ, this is just getting beyond control, guys. Really, seriously.
Yeah, but I
don't care how much these people got. I don't care.
All we need to do is ask Grimby for a theory. Something I'd like to see some equations. All I ever hear is words.
Holy shit, man! The equations are also being redone, and because they're not known. Because listen,
that's convenient.
We're in space, and we're finding these Birkeland currents move very rapidly. All right, because you can't just go to one place. It's not like you pinpoint a location; they move rapidly, and they're finding this out.
You're really good at hand waving.
Convenient. I'll handle the fuck out of you. You're easy. We already know that the Birkeland currents exist. Okay.
So what?
That's a main issue. What do you mean?
So what? There's currents exist. I can produce currents anywhere. But what kind of fields can they produce? What are the magnitudes of the currents?
The magnetic fields are wrapped around.
No. Tell me, what are the magnitudes?
We can't know. We can't know that.
Oh, you can't know. Then how do you know there's currents? If you can't measure it,
visualize them. They pass the MMS.
Oh, you can visualize it. Yeah, and I can visualize three-toed gnomes pulling my car along.
You're being and I can visualize an entire outer space galaxy. Doesn't make that real either. So,
Mr. Grimby, that paper you've just cited has no mention of what those fields being on the Earth.
No, I think what you've done, Grim. When I read that the instrumentation is in low Earth orbit.
Yeah,
right.
You've got it completely wrong.
So it's not they found the waves in low Earth orbit. The instrumentation, they've put new satellites up there that means they can keep a constant eye on the sun.
No, they're not looking at the sun. They're looking between themselves.
You claimed they were in the Earth. They were wrapped around the Earth, you said.
They are.
No, nothing. Well, okay, the citation you've offered doesn't say that. You try reading your own citation.
He's always finding citations. He looks at keywords and he never reads the body. He has no understanding of what his citations are, and a lot of times they contradict.
Exactly, there's a contradict usually. Yeah, that's exactly what.
Okay, so what site? Okay, are we talking about the www.nasa.gov featured Goddard 2017 NASA observations reshape?
Yeah, I'm just going back to the section.
Yeah, that one. That one. Yeah.
Okay, so where are you at? Reading about this is only from the sun. This is from the first time we've been able to see this energy transfer directly.
You said that these alpha waves were in Earth atmosphere,
from low Earth orbit.
Yes, and there's nothing in this paper that says that.
Surprise, surprise.
Actually, it does. Look where the space. It's between the crafts. The crafts are not on either side of the sun. They're very close to each other, and they're
Can
measuring.
somebody please present the paper? Perhaps
it's in the link. It's in the chat, Alman.
1 second, I've got a lot of
it
desk
would be
space.
good to basically present it as part of the video.
Missions flew at much larger separations, which did not allow them to see the small scales, much like trying to measure the thickness of a piece of paper with a yardstick. MMS tight flying formation, however, allowed the spacecraft to investigate the shorter wavelengths of kinetic alphine waves instead of glossing over the small scale effects.
Actually, I'm gonna.
It's only at these small scales that the waves are able to transfer energy, which is why it's so important to study them, Gershman said. So actually, basically, what they're saying is that for the first time, they found a new transference method of energy that they didn't even know existed.
Actually, in the video, it does mention alpha waves being near the Earth. Actually, in the little video that's attached to it, but it doesn't mention it in the paper.
You never ever look at the relative magnitudes of these things and whether or not they're significant.
Stop being so disruptive, dude.
No, I'm not being disruptive.
Yes, you are.
Whenever you analyze a problem,
now we're over that hurdle. It was in lower
what are the important factors? What are the factors that can be ignored that aren't important?
Right, so much tonight. It's
this is the problem that you have in a lot of these analyses. Is you
obviously it wasn't my problem. It was yours. I was right. Stupid. You were wrong. So it's not my problem, idiot. It was your problem.
Look at what the dominant important factors are in an analysis. Now, if these effects are orders of magnitude underneath the gravitational effect, they're insignificant. You don't need to consider them. So that's why I'm asking. Provide me with data that shows me what the relative magnitudes of these forces are in comparison to the normal gravitational force.
You're not really absorbing any of the information that you're being provided, so there's not going to be worth it.
It's because it raises too many questions. That's your problem.
First of all, it's too many things going on at the same time, and you're all banging on me with disrespect. And the fact of the matter is I've been showing them everything I've fucking said.
I've been very consistent in what I've been asking. I have not deviated one bit. All I want to know is what does the theory provide in terms of magnitudes of these fields compared to, say, the standard fields that we get with the standard model in using gravitational concepts.
Yeah, the current of the field is very important. If you can't give a specific of the current of the field, you couldn't measure it.
I can't off the top of my head. That doesn't mean that those papers that they've written don't.
If you can't measure it, then it's not significant, right?
Well, that's the point, buddy. We're every time we get out there and we measure it, we find a significant amount of current that we didn't expect in the standard model, don't we?
Okay, what are the magnitudes of these currents? Huh?
Do we or do we not?
I want to know, what are the magnitudes of these currents? Are we talking amps, tens of amps, hundreds of amps, 100,000 amps, a million amps? What are the current values? What are the current densities? How many amps per square meter?
I'm pretty sure he already said he couldn't know. So
yeah, I already said that.
What about that? Didn't you hear? Why do you keep asking the same question?
He thinks he's abusing me by asking me the same question that I already admitted that I could not know the answer to over and over.
Why even go through this if you don't know?
Because it warrants further investigation.
All right, investigate it, and then get
what
back.
Why don't you let him finish talking and actually hear what he is doing?
Yeah.
What are you claiming these alpha waves do, Mr. Grimby?
I'm not just saying that alphine waves are solely responsible for anything. So I'm not claiming. I'm saying that there are
all right, they exist. We accept that. They exist. Move on.
Oh, God. So all this time, you're not saying I'm responsible for anything.
You're interrupting me to laugh in the middle of a sentence. So I'm not claiming that they do anything actually other than that they are another small scale energy transference that actually happens that we're not accounting.
Then what? What's the significance of that? How does that impact our current understanding of the universe?
Oh, I'm still not done. Are you talking again? Holy fuck. So it's larger scale on a larger area. And since we have so much area, it actually is large scale.
What is the significance of this?
So there's a large-scale energy transference.
Look, as an outsider, I want to know now. I'm hearing you rambling on. What is the significance of this concept?
I'm telling you all that the art.
No, and I want to hear from him, please. What is the significance of this?
Well, he's saying they don't do anything. He's saying that they're just a thing, these alpha waves, but then he's not claiming they're responsible for any effect. But what they do seem to be partly involved in is the solar wind. That's all.
Is that it? Mr.
Yeah, all much ado about nothing. That's what they're trying to say.
Oh, by the way,
what does it impact our standard model?
Oh, Jesus, I just want to get a word in edgeways, but without being talked over, please. I just want to say, Rumpus, it was Huygens I was trying to think of.
For
correcting Newtonian math on orbital dynamics. He made some corrections to it. He made some observations, which were then included, and that's why he's recognised as being quite pivotal.
In what corrections did he make to Newton? To Newton's equations, you're saying?
Where is it?
I can't see.
I mean,
correction to an equation. Maybe it's incorporating.
Light truss. He suggested a wave theory of light, whereas Newton suggested a corpuscular theory. That's what you're thinking of, I think. Nothing to do with gravity and orbits.
Hey, speaking of history, can I ask some questions regarding?
I think the stream is over, by the way. So.
Well, he's still
it's been over hours ago.
No. Chris Berry kept on streaming, but he left.
Well, Dean's streaming it.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if it's being streamed.
I'm gonna leave anyway. So have fun with the Dirt Rage. See you guys.
Take care.
Any astute historians are here?
Could you turn your audio up?
You're very quiet.
Hear you.
I know a little bit about history.
All right, is this better?
That's better.
Hey, George, I don't know if you got this or not, but maybe you should try reading that. That might help you out with some of the ideas of the field-aligned current structure of the Birkeland current, furthering the work of Christian Birkeland.
This other guy, Anon, had a question. What is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's for your...
Yeah, I got it.
So regarding Galileo, can we talk about Galileo a little bit?
Okay, what's your question?
So did he go against the church or not?
Well, it all depends what you mean against the church. Yeah, I mean,
did he say something that the church did not like, and what was that? What did he say?
Well, it had to do with the nature of the solar system and the planets that things were not necessarily Earth-centered.
The problem is the Pope is infallible on Earth under Catholic dogma. Yeah, the Pope said that the Earth was the center of the universe. Galileo said it wasn't. Therefore, the Pope said, don't like what you're saying, mate. You might want to rethink about it a bit. He rethought about it for many, many years. And then after he died, everybody published his works. I think that's a reasonable synopsis.
Okay, so can you
tell me the church has apologized?
Yeah. I'm not concerned about what the church has done since. My question was, what did Galileo go against? So what I heard was that he had some ideas about the nature of our reality. Didn't get
He put the sun in the center of the universe.
Wait, I thought that was Copernicus.
Sorry, he put the sun in the center of if there was the fact that he observed that we weren't the center, not the sun.
I thought that was Copernicus.
I think Copernicus came up with the
but he reinforced it. He reinforced the idea.
He actually observed it.
See the planets.
Because he had a telescope and Copernicus didn't.
Yeah, so the telescope really doesn't matter in here. It's because I just trying to figure out from your understanding.
Well, the church just didn't like the fact that he was reinforcing the idea that the Earth was not the center of the universe.
So he was basically promoting a heliocentric model, as the Pope was promoting a geocentric model, and that's what the qualm was. Is that correct?
Yeah, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Do you happen to know which Pope that was?
I don't know. Go back through the history of popes.
George, I know. I'm asking you. Do you know which Pope that was?
Track of which Pope. No.
Okay. All right. So you're telling me that he was going against the Pope. He was going against the Church about the way that the Earth and the Sun was, the
way the solar system was structured. Yeah.
Structured. Exactly. Okay. So what if I told you that the Pope, that Copernicus actually dedicated his book De Revolutionibus Orbium Celestium to a pope. His name was Pope Paul III. So, and that was 100 years before Galileo, Copernicus did. So Copernicus dedicated his book of this revolution of the celestial bodies, which he said that's supposed to be heliocentric, to a pope. To a pope.
So, yeah.
What about what happened after Galileo's trial, where the church actually banned his book, banned Copernicus's book?
So okay, so why?
So
did
this is about the changing views
years before.
This is about the changing.
Why did 100 years before so is it from your understanding that the church flip flop? Is that right? Church at first was like, yeah, heliocentric. That shit's awesome.
No, just because he dedicated the book doesn't mean that the church embraced it.
No. The church did embrace it 100 years ago because he was actually there was another guy who gave the presentation of the book.
So what's your point to all this?
My point
where are you headed? Where are you headed with this?
I'm headed with this is the bullshit story about Galileo going against the church when the mathematician of the Vatican, one Nicholas Copernicus, is the guy who actually came up with a heliocentric model.
Obviously did not. Hey, dude, obviously the church did not like what Galileo was doing because they put him on trial.
You're not listening. You're literally, George, you're retarded. You're not listening. What I'm telling you is the heliocentric model was put forth by the Vatican mathematician and it was praised by Pope Paul III 100 years prior to Galileo.
You are hurting my ears. Can you please stop shouting?
Then stop talking and let me finish my statement.
No, you are shouting so loud, you are hurting my ears. I'm asking you to talk quieter.
Your microphone is too loud now, Alan. You've gone from too quiet to too loud.
Fuck's sake.
So, 100 years prior to Galileo being
don't really give a shit anymore.
That's why I yelled because you stopped me. I'm trying to wrap it up concise. 100 years prior to Galileo, which was supposedly going against the church about the position of the earth and the sun, the book was actually created by the Vatican mathematician and it was dedicated to Pope Paul III. So you either tell me that the story is bullshit, or you're gonna have to tell me that the church flip-flopped. First was like, yeah, heliocentric, and then later on,
I'm not telling you any such thing. All we know is
the two options you have.
That the
Those
church.
are the only two options you have.
I've honestly got this. So there's a very simple way we can go and find this out, isn't there? If you understand how the Catholic Church works, is there not? We can answer this empirically. We can
go ahead, answer it.
We can go and look at the papal bulls issued and see what Paul V did versus Paul III, and actually get an understanding of what his point of view are. There have always been popes that have been more stringent. Can I actually finish what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
So we know that popes have very different points of view. Some are more orthodox, some are less, some have different points of view. We've seen radical changes in the direction of the Catholic Church. So saying that they went one way and then back the other, you've also got to remember that we're around then, isn't that around the start of the latter part of the Inquisition? So this is the Reformation of the Inquisition.
But the Pope itself came up with it. So the Vatican Church, Vatican Church is the entity who actually came up with this whole bullshit model. Why would it go against something it already created itself?
Because Copernicus is not the church.
Copernicus was a Vatican mathematician, and he was forced to publish forced to publish his book earlier because he wanted to publish it after he was dead. But he was forced by the bishops to publish it before he died.
Hey, Dress, I'm trying to figure out where he's headed with this. Is your thesis conclusion to all this is because the church flip-flopped, the earth has to be flat?
No, my point is that the whole little story that you gave me prior to this whole discussion going off board is bullshit. The whole story you told me about, he was going against the church, is bullshit. The church came up with the fucking thing 100 years prior.
And I've told you how we can find out.
And then why was
the
church
told you how we can find out empirically, and you just ignored my point. Can't we go and look at the Vatican bulls? We can look at the paper bulls that came out.
Oh
and
yeah,
we can
I should
actually
go
see
and
what
knock on the
judgments were
Vatican and
for
ask them to
against it.
show me their archives. Yeah, that'll
And
work.
apparently,
most of it's online.
And the thing is, apparently, the church wasn't very pleased with Galileo because they put him on trial and put him under house arrest. So explain that.
That's literally the story that you're peddling is bullshit. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't pass the sniff test.
They don't get it, Anon. Good work. Well presented. Good job, Anon.
Nathan, you have a lot more followers than I do. I don't have any followers, so I'd like you if you push that concept out, because every time I hear some schmuck tell me about Galileo and how he was going against the church 100 years prior, church came up with a fucking idea.
Okay, so what's your point to all this? Okay,
what's your point? I think the trial records are online.
My point is, you guys are retarded. That's my point. I'll go on mute.
I'm retarded. Move on.
Arrest my case.
Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing right now as we did with Grimm, where you'll explain something for 10 minutes and then they'll ask you a question about what you just explained for 10 minutes.
Yeah, they're not listening.
Well, it's hard to listen when you have someone just spewing forth word salad and bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit. It's an interesting question. I like it.
No, I'm talking about Grimm V. I'm talking about.
I don't like the way you delivered it, but I like the question, and I will actually go and look into it for you, and I'll see what I can find out.
If you don't say space and gravity, they're going to say.
I think Druss is talking about Grimm V2 sometimes when you say that, because you don't, everything you call bullshit, it's not necessarily bullshit. It's just your idea leads you to believe it's bullshit.
I don't know everything, so I'm not going to sit here and.
Obviously.
I generally go with the way the scientific, the body of science seems to explain things to be.
Well, I think by then
because I'm not a specialist in those disciplines.
But I think what
science doesn't have a body.
Trying to tell us, Druss, is that this trial of Galileo and house arrest never occurred. That's what he's trying to tell us. He's denying.
And what I'm trying to tell you, do you know what the Spanish Inquisition did? Do you know how many ways they invented to shove things in your asshole and use horses to pull your body apart? That's what the church did That's what the church did when you went against it. It shoved things in your anus and then ripped it. And what did they do to Galileo? Oh, they put him on house arrest at 80. Of course he wants to be in house arrest at 80. He basically went to a fucking old people home and they took care of him. And you telling me that's a punishment? Am I retarded? No. You may buy this stupid story. I don't buy this stupid story.
I can't take this anymore. See you later, Druss.
Take care, George.
God.
Good day.
Adios.
We can hear you really well. You don't need to shout, mate. You really do not.
I just get pissed.
I can tell. You want to ramp it down a bit, mate.
Hey, Anon, I'd love if you came on my show and broke that down sometime. So just keep an open mind about it.
I'm on Master B. Get me. I could do it every sometimes. But you know what? I can't take credit for any of that. I mean, most of the stuff I got from Migmag, and I actually went certain. I mean, some of them I figured out myself. After, but I'm sure Migmag already knows this stuff because he has so much content that, I can't go through all of it. But, as soon as you start digging down the hole of who created all this shit, and then the story starts falling apart, especially with it going against the church. And then you go, wait, all the people that are telling us about the heliocentric model are priests. What the hell's going on?
No, they're not.
Yeah, dude, and the Globers claim to be anti-religious, and their whole.
I know. That's the fucking irony. That is the most ironic thing.
That's the most stupid thing I've heard you say, Nathan.
What do you mean?
That's a blanket statement.
Yeah, it's a really stupid statement. No. Most people have a religious or a spiritual perspective. Yeah, most people do, regardless of what you say. Most people do.
I'm Christian and I believe in the heliocentric model.
Yeah,
I'm
most
pagan.
people are Globers and have a religion. You're right.
Thank you.
What?
No, I just appreciated Nathan's acknowledgement. I thank you. That was nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, most people have a religion called Globe Earth.
Oh.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I thought you were actually being generous there and recognizing that sweeping statement was rather silly.
No, the heliocentric priests are Catholic priests. You guys think you're anti-religious, and your model came from Catholic priests.
Look at quantum mechanics. Look at quantum mechanics. Look at relativity. Look at George Lemaitre. Look at Guy Compagliano, whatever the hell his name is. He tells
you. Look at James Maxwell Clark. Look at Robbie Lewin Stevenson. Look at John Logie Baird. I'm just naming Scottish scientists because I'm Scottish, so I'm being unfair.
Fine. My point is, you have a Jesuit priest tell you that the heliocentric model was made up by the Catholic Church. No, I'm telling you, he says it proudly. The heliocentric model was invented by the Catholic Church. That is his statement. Let me repeat it. The heliocentric model was invented by the Catholic Church. That's how he says it. Again, the heliocentric model was invented by the Catholic Church. And then you tell me, oh, I'm not religious. You're parroting a Catholic Church.
You're parroting a priest. You fucking idiot. Didn't you just hear? I actually told
you're parroting a priest.
I just told you I am religious. So why are you just saying that I'm not?
I'm telling you.
Can you not share the same viewpoint to somebody else without being part of the religion?
Religion takes no part in this.
So why do you keep bringing it up?
Meaning any positive part. I'm here to destroy it or deconstruct it and explain it and tell you that the people that are like, oh, I'm atheist, I don't believe in God. I'm not talking about you per se. I'm telling you 90% of the ballers that come and tell me, oh, you don't believe it. I don't believe in religion. I'm an atheist and science. I'm an atheist. And then, evolution and science. All this shit is literally invented by the Catholic Church.
So because I accept something that was invented by the Catholic Church, that makes me a Catholic, huh?
Pretty much.
Exactly.
That's really weird. Considering
you're just the opposite side of the coin. You're the opposite side of the coin, but you're still on the coin.
Wasn't Charles Darwin the son of a Protestant minister?
I don't fucking know. He was a cousin fucking guy. He was,
he actually believed in God anyway.
Katy Perry's dad was a priest.
Guys, the Zionist brag in the protocols about introducing.
That's the trouble with these young men is they got shit for brains.
It's still an interesting question, actually. I am going to look into the papal bull. But
well, it might be an interesting question, but it's ridiculous for them to draw inferences that in his claim that since the heliocentric model was invented by the church, that somehow I'm religious.
Yeah, well,
that's a non sequitur, if ever I've heard one.
You believe in gravity and you believe in curvature, you're religious.
Why?
No, you're not.
Why, Nathan? Hang on.
Because it doesn't exist. It was invented by a Catholic priest. He just broke it down.
Look, oh my gosh.
It's not a very bright boy.
Likes pizza, then I'm a Catholic.
No, nobody said that, moron.
If a Catholic likes orange juice and I also like orange juice, am I a Catholic?
No, nobody said that, moron.
Nathan,
okay, that's exactly what you're saying.
No, we're saying you're religious, not that you're Catholic, dumbass.
Hey,
well, you're saying the same thing.
Anything, bro. We'll sit here for 2 hours explaining.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, Nathan. Wait. There's an important news. I've got an important news break here. Nathan, you're Catholic because in 1986, the Christian Catholic Church, Glenn Volver, actually became out as a flat earther. So you must be Catholic.
Church practices sacerdotalism. I don't practice sacerdotalism.
Oh no, you're a Catholic, mate. I'm sorry. This guy's a flat earther and he's a Catholic. That makes you a Catholic by your own admission.
He understands reality.
Oh no. Oh shit. Anyway, a nomine Patris Spiritus Filii Sancti.
Oh, excellent straw man argument. That was fun.
I know. I was just demonstrating your excellent straw man argument, Nathan. That's exactly what I did. Thank you.
Nathan,
If you believe in a dome and haven't seen it, then that's also religious.
I don't believe in a dome. All gas pressure requires a container, and we have an electromagnetic field coming from the sky. It's not coming from the Earth. Scientists have never been able to duplicate a dynamo threshold. Ask the Professor Lathrop at the University
I'm
of
asking
Maryland.
you. You're quoting other people, buddy. You're quoting other people. I'm asking you, if you believe in a dome, and if you haven't seen it or measured it, no. Do you or do you not believe in a dome?
No, it could be like
we have a container.
Flat roof. It doesn't have to be
I don't know the shape of it. I don't assume to know the shape of it. I just know that we're contained in the sun, moon, stars, our perfect map.
Hey, George.
They're perfect plot. They have archaeoastronomy.
Okay, well, if my model violates the law of thermodynamics, your model violates the law of the perspective. So, whatever.
So the flat Earth violates the law of perspective?
The sun does, apparently.
Oh, why?
It violates every law.
Are we going to use the same argument we went over yesterday where you assume no medium and don't take into account refraction? Is that it?
Oh, yeah, it's taken into account.
Oh, excellent. So go ahead, explain it to everyone.
Oh, no, you explain me how everything in the real world we live in, when it goes away from you, gets smaller except for the sun and the moon. Please explain that to me.
Get smaller. I've got videos of it, but also the size can increase due to glare. I just said you're going to extract.
So
you
didn't use a solar filter, so that's not a valid observation of the sun if you're not using a solar filter, because you will get lens flare and you will get distortion. So I'd like to see your evidence of the sun increasing with an appropriately demonstrated solar filter.
Yeah, so you just talked about glare. That has nothing to do with angular size, buddy.
I know. That's why you use a solar filter.
Saying that light does not increase in size when it goes through a dense medium. Is that what you're saying?
I'm asking you how you performed your experiment, Nathan. Why aren't you answering the question?
Whoa, wait. I got to take it back because you said glare does not have anything to do with the sun. So when a light...
I said angular size. I said angular size, buddy.
When a light shines through a dense medium, does it appear larger, yes or no?
I'm asking if you demonstrated what sort of solar filter you use. Why aren't you answering a simple question?
Hang on.
Why are you deflecting all the time?
Hang on. Filters on our eyeballs. You asked why the sun doesn't get smaller as it sets. Well,
no. I'm asking you what solar filter did you use on your video?
It depends on the atmosphere.
So why aren't you answering? What did you use a solar filter on your video? And if so, what type of solar filter? That's all I'm asking.
It was Chris Van Matre's video.
Yeah.
He's a land surveyor and pilot for 30 years and a flat earther.
Did he use a solar filter? Yes or no?
He used something else, but I believed it was a hydrogen. I'm not sure what he used exactly, but the size of the sun changed.
Hydrogen alpha.
Hydrogen alpha, thank you. Yeah, so the size of the sun changed. Go look at it. It's a great video. He's also a land surveyor and a pilot and a flat earther.
Hey, how big is my flashlight? How big is his flashlight beam?
What?
How big is his flashlight beam? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. It's like two people talking.
I said, how big is his flashlight beam?
What flashlight beam are you talking about?
The one on my camera.
Click on his avatar.
I think it's on his phone.
I thought you
it's on my camera. You see my camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, how big is it? How big is the flashlight?
Oh, it looks like there's some glare taking place.
Oh! How do you spell this guy's name, by the way, Nathan?
Interesting how they'll accept glare.
See how that makes a big difference? Glare and actual size?
Yeah, I just said
filter.
That.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what you need to use a filter.
Yeah, we did, and it changes size.
And actually, not
size.
Come on,
how much?
I have the video up, so you guys go look at it. It's all good.
Yeah, so it changed how much? Does it explain?
No, it's not all good, Nathan. You have no idea how to conduct an experiment or a test.
Oh, okay.
I've looked at these things through precision theodolites with filters on it, and you can track the sun or the moon over the whole course of sunrise to sunset. And
look at that. That's the difference right there. See? Actual size, glare.
I'll just
Actual size, glare. Angular size, glare.
Very good, Carlos.
Angular size, glare. Do I need to keep going?
Camera. So that proves there's a ball, guys.
What?
Great argument.
What?
You shined a flashlight at your computer screen and you prove Earth's a ball. Excellent.
I prove you wrong on your preference.
No, I think he was demonstrating that if you don't have an appropriate filter, then it's difficult to actually establish the size of the light source you're looking at. And I think that was a very good demonstration to actually present his point. But I think you're being very unfair.
The hydrogen alpha filter and the sun changes size, and I've recorded the moon going and shrinking into a small, tiny little dot. I didn't have a filter, but it did happen, and you can go watch that video.
Into a dot.
I'm 50 years old and a long time pagan, Nathan, and I spend a lot of time under moonlight.
Look,
I've never seen that happen in my life, mate.
No, Nathan, I'm not trying to be a troll or anything, but the thing is, like, you say that you have this videos or whatever. This should be something we experience every day. The sun and the moon changing the angular size, and we do not see that.
No, it depends on your atmospheric dome.
What dome?
You guys are morons.
Oh,
you don't even
God.
understand atmospheric conditions change with elevation, dude. This is so pathetic.
What dome? This
you guys are lucky I'm driving
dome?
across
Like that?
right now.
Dome?
Time to educate you, Baltar.
You know, Druss, we have some hope for mankind when we can see that young men like Carlos gives us hope for the future. But when you got guys like Nathan, you just kind of wonder how the human species will continue.
It's all good. I'm starting a revolution with all the other flat earthers, and you guys are getting
Jesus Christ. The stupid is deep with this one.
The choice is yours. You choose red pill, blue pill.
Nathan, all I'm going to say, if you're going to have delusions, you might as well have great big satisfying ones.
What am I delusional about?
This is a tough hill to die on, Nathan.
What am I delusional about?
What aren't you? I mean, everything we've heard from you is nothing but
I don't want to be invective or nasty, but
and say everything, right? Oh, everything. It's all bullshit.
Well, no,
I mean, look at your behavior. You're like a little boy on a playground, man.
Exactly am I delusional about?
The flat Earth. The flat Earth.
The Earth is measurably and observably flat. That's not a delusion.
Observably and measurably are two different things.
No, I've actually measured the surface curvature of a large body of water, and it conforms to the 8 inches per mile squared.
Oh, really? What large body? How far? And what did you use to measure it?
I used TopCon GTS 3C theodolite. Has 5 arc-second precision. I've measured it on Rainy Lake, over 6 miles.
Oh, so over 300 yards. The manufacturer says those aren't accurate over 300 yards.
No, that's not what it says.
I was with land surveyors last week. They've been doing it over 80 years, and according to the
No. You're talking about the distance measurement capability of a theodolite on a total station. I'm not talking about the distance measurement capability. We're looking at the
6 miles.
And we're looking at it through a theodolite and an auto level. An auto level just sets a tangent to the Earth through its optics. There's no distance measurement capability. And all you do is you set up targets along a tangent line, and you see what the drop distance from the center of the target is to the surface of the water. And you find that it changes with distance away from the theodolite or the auto level.
And you're saying you did it over 6 miles?
Yes, I did it over 6 miles.
How much drop did you witness?
Say what?
And how much drop did you observe over 6 miles?
It's around 24 feet.
Excellent. So we did a 17-mile laser test 3 feet off the ground, and it was observable 6 feet off the ground on the other side of the lake.
No, well, that's because you have beam divergence. A laser does not remain pencil thin over distance. As you should know that a laser has, if you go 14 miles, with a typical laser, with a 1 milliradian beam divergence at 14 miles, you're looking about a 70-foot beam diameter.
Yeah, I know. And how many milliwatts per millimeter squared is that at that distance?
Very little.
Very little. So, like, not observable, huh? You'd almost have to be looking at the central axis point of the emitter in order to see the laser, right?
That's correct. If you put up a target, you would not see the light.
And you just proved flat Earth, because if the light
No, I didn't.
spinning,
No, I didn't. You
the
don't
light
have to
was
see. You
spinning
can be
around
off.
the
You can be
curve.
off beam by 70
Listen how
feet. You
delusional
can
these
be off
goobers
the
are. They
beam
won't
by
even let me
35
finish
feet,
my
dude, and
argument.
you'll
They
still
can't even
see
let
the
me
laser.
finish.
You
They gotta
don't have to
censor.
be on the
They
central
gotta
axis.
censor me and talk over me.
That's
because
the
they
whole
think the
idea of
laser is
beam divergence.
bending
That's
around
what beam
100
divergence
feet
means,
apart.
is you don't have to be on the central axis to see a laser if it has beam divergence.
You just said you wouldn't be able to see it at 14 miles.
No, I said what I was meaning to say, and what you were not interpreting properly is that if you put up a target, that beam, that laser light will not illuminate that target. Whereas if you look direct back to the source of the laser light, yes, you will see it anywhere within the cone of the beam, which is 70 feet in diameter.
You're saying you're seeing the source of the laser light and it's bending around the curve of the Earth 100 feet?
I'm saying that beam spreads out because of the divergence.
100 feet above the
and
curve
you
of the
don't
Earth?
know that you have that laser perfectly level.
So even though it's not perfectly level, we can see it from 17 miles away. Is that what you're saying?
It's possible. It depends on the atmospheric conditions. Did you measure the temperature profile of your optical corridor to know what kind of refraction you have?
We pointed it at the ground and you could see it 17
Not
miles
only
away.
do you
That
have
makes
refraction effects, you have atmospheric scattering. It depends upon what kind of
from
particulate
17
matter and what
miles
kind of
away.
moisture was in the air. It can scatter that beam around the
but if
Earth.
it was scattering,
This is a very common phenomena that we also find with radio waves, called tropospheric propagation. You can receive radio waves over the curve of the Earth because the Earth acts as a waveguide to propagate the waves, and the light is nothing more than an electromagnetic wave of very high frequency.
Light and radio are just two different frequencies.
Funny enough, you get the same with sonar in the sea with what's called convergence layers. That's why if you haven't got your sonar buoy at the right depths, then you miss your shoals of fish when you're trying to catch them.
That you have with these amateur scientists, quote unquote, these flat earthers, is they don't understand the physics, and they just think they go out and do something. They don't critically analyze to try to falsify their hypothesis.
Well, I think a more interesting question to say, is it impossible to have a refractive index that would give the result that Nathan observed?
Yes.
That would be the first point, and then we'd say, okay, what?
I'm
trying to be, Nathan. I'm really trying to be fair here, because you actually, I gave you props before for the fact you go out and do observations.
Yes.
So I've always given you props for that, because you do get off your fucking ass and do shit. But what I'm saying is that it would be interesting to know what sort of atmospherics would be, equivalent to cause that type of effect, and what were the atmospherics on the day near where you were. And then we can say, actually, is that unreasonable? Wow, we really need an explanation. Or is there not enough here really to say that this is a valid observation? We can at least ask that question.
Druss, it's actually not unreasonable, because I have been doing the past 2 years researching and measuring, doing experiments and research on refraction. I have found over 2.5 miles across the lake, I have seen conditions where the apparent height of things have changed as much as 9 feet upward on 2.5 miles.
An object is not a coherent light source, like a laser. God, you guys are morons.
Doesn't matter. Light is light, dude.
How is that different, Nathan? Right. Please explain to me.
And when did I claim it was?
If light travels the same way, depending on what it is, how's it different?
The nature of light is the same. All a laser is monochromatic light, meaning it's light of one frequency. That's no different than having white light from the sun, where it's composed of multiple frequencies.
And if you're lucky, it's relatively parallel.
One is light bouncing off of the other one is emitting it.
Red fireball. You guys are saying it's white light?
No.
No, we're saying that they're both light. One is bouncing off of something, the other one is
single color.
Okay, but someone said the sun was white light.
No.
So it's not giving off all colors of the light spectrum?
It's giving off a very wide spectrum. It's more concentrated towards the yellow end of the spectrum, but it does basically have all frequencies of visible light. in it. It goes for everywhere from red light up to violet and light. It has light of pretty much of all frequencies. Some are more intense than others.
The atmosphere is actually absorbing a blue light.
So, since we're talking about light, and I heard somebody mention that it's just a wave. I think it was you, George. Is that right? It's light or wave?
Light is a TEM wave, transverse electromagnetic wave, that comes in packets, which we call photons, energy packets.
And if it wasn't a wave, we couldn't apply diffraction to it.
It has two types of properties. In some cases, it behaves like a wave. In other cases, it behaves as if a particle, but it doesn't have mass. It has momentum.
Depending on who's watching.
We call it the dual nature of light. It's because the electromagnetic waves come in energy packets.
Oh, they're called das Linkfant, right?
You can think of it like a wave, but sometimes think of it like a particle.
Is that right? Is that what Einstein called it? Das Linkfant?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what he called it. So anyway, let's forget about the whole duality business. Let's just talk about the regular idea that light is a wave.
What about it?
Can we agree that light's a wave?
Hey, Nathan.
Okay.
I told you it's a transverse electromagnetic wave, what we call a TEM wave. It satisfies Maxwell's equation.
All right, so it's a wave.
Nathan.
Hold on.
Nathan. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Can you please post those two videos in the chat? I'd like to take a look at them, please. The one where you said the moon gets small into a point, and the one where you said the sun gets smaller. I want to see both of them.
They're on my
He said he
just all you gotta do is copy and paste the link into the description.
He's driving.
Into the chat.
He's driving. He can't do it. That's not fair.
Okay, let's go
back
to
the
wave.
Driving.
I knew what his channel was.
He shouldn't even be on here if he's driving. That's reprehensible.
He might have a headphone. That's why he sounds like shit.
Phone conversation that's reprehensible.
It doesn't matter if you have a headphone; you're still distracted. That's highly illegal in many states.
Watch out, George is gonna call the cops on you. Anyway, let's get back to the topic of waves.
People wreck my vehicles because you're texting and distracted by talking on a phone.
George,
reprehensible.
Great, that's fascinating. George, you said it's a wave. Wave of what?
Oh God, electromagnetic wave. It's coupled electric and magnetic fields.
Oh, okay, so let's hold on. Let me try to talk to George here. So, George, it's a wave of what? Because wave is not a thing. Wave is an attribute. Wave is what a medium does. So what is the medium? If you have light traveling in a vacuum, what is the medium that's waving?
Shut up and I'll tell you. A wave, an electromagnetic wave, a plane wave, a TEM electromagnetic wave is one in which there are two fields. There's an electric field, there's a magnetic field.
At 90 degrees.
Well, you shut up. They're at right angles to one another and they oscillate in time. They vary in time with magnitude according to the frequency of the wave.
All right. I know that. But my question is, light itself, a wave itself is not a thing. Wave is what something does. Wave of water, the water is waving. If you go to a soccer stadium, you see a wave of people. If you look at a flag, let me finish. If you look at a flag, the fabric is waving. If you look at a breakdancer, his arm is waving.
Okay, get to the point.
Okay, so what the fuck is waving in a vacuum? If you have a vacuum medium,
it's a field. It's the field. It's the electric field and the magnetic field. They don't need
so there is we are swimming in a sea of electromagnetic. Is that what you're telling me? So a vacuum is not empty. It's got electromagnetic.
It has a field. It has an electric field and it has a magnetic field.
I can't hear. What the hell? Who's talking?
Fucking Nathan.
Nathan, we can't hear you. You sound so bad.
I can't listen to this. Bye.
You sound
Nathan,
terrible.
mute yourself.
Anyway, so when you have a vacuum, you telling me that there is a field of electromagnetic and it's waving up and down. So it's not a vacuum. The vacuum is filled up with a thing called electromagnetic. Is that right?
Yeah, but it's not.
Yes, the field exists within the vacuum, but we don't talk about.
So the vacuum is not a vacuum.
No, no.
It's got stuff in it.
When you use the word vacuum, we're talking about whether or not there's matter within that space.
So electromagnetic is not matter.
That is correct.
Matter is not energy. Got it. I thought matter was energy. Is matter energy?
There's an equivalence. Matter is not directly. Matter, there's an equivalent principle between matter and energy in that you can release, you can convert matter into energy. That's the equivalence, but they're not the same.
Okay, so the vacuum is filled up with energy. That's waving. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Yes, there can be energy in the vacuum, yes.
Utter nonsense.
Okay.
Because you don't understand it.
No, I understand it. You're telling me there is a vacuum. Vacuum is absence of matter. There's nothing there. So what the fuck is waving?
Physics class.
I understand the explanation. You think that I haven't heard the explanation, but what I'm telling you, the explanation doesn't make sense. Because you can't have a vacuum and have it wave. You can't have nothing wave. Vacuum is absence of matter. Nothing. It's nothing there.
Why can't you have a wave in a vacuum? Why can't you have a wave in a vacuum?
Why can you have a
Why can't you have a wave in a vacuum? Present me your evidence for that.
You need to repeat that. Say that again.
Present me your evidence that proves you can't have an energy wave in a vacuum.
I never said you can't. In fact, there's plenty of evidence that light does travel through a quote unquote vacuum. Old light bulbs were basically vacuums. It would suck the air out. They wouldn't even put new gas in there.
So what's your point?
My point is there is an ether field. So there's something that's waving. So you want to talk? You want to call it electromagnetic? Or Tesla and everybody else back then, even Maxwell that you're quoting, call it ether. So it's funny how you quote Maxwell, cherry pick quote him, and then when it comes to ether, you like to go with Einstein. You need to flip flop and go with Einstein and say, "Oh yeah, so there's no such thing as ether, space, time, fabric, textile, and silk."
Do you understand that to have electromagnetism requires relativity? It's an absolute prerequisite.
No,
you are an ignorant fuck.
Oh, you can yell. Okay, sure. If that's the best you got, that's great.
That's not the best I've got. Physics predicts it.
Physics predict what?
That you cannot have electromagnetism without relativity.
Nonsense. People that discovered this stuff never knew about relativity, and they seem to figure out how it works and harness the power of it from Niagara to light up New York. They knew exactly what it was. They knew what it, and they were pissed off at this whole new cult of Einsteinian theory. And that's what do you think Tesla ended up talking to pigeons because he was sick and tired idiots like you quoting some guy with a fuzzy crackpot who's fucking his cousin, and he's not even a mathematician. He's a patent clerk, and everybody's praising him while Nikola Tesla lit up New York. And he's saying, there is no such thing as ether. And then there's Tesla going,
just once ever in the world, show me electromagnetism without relativity. Show me one example.
What the fuck are you even talking about? Relativity what? Wait, what do you mean? What does that even mean? Special general, where are you going with this? This doesn't even make any sense. You're just yapping.
Wow.
You just don't understand.
You need a Nobel Prize since you know everything. Where's your Nobel Prize?
I know enough to call bullshit.
You certainly don't.
So why are you not?
I do.
Why are you not? You should be famous.
Show me electromagnetism without relativity. Show me.
What does that even mean? Show me the fabric of space-time, first of all, to go with your relativity. Show me this fabric of space-time, and then we can go
So you're asking me right now to do Einstein's field equations. Are you on crack? Do you even know what you're asking for?
Arguments are irrelevant, man.
Utter nonsense.
Incredulity. Simple.
Religious zealotry.
Wow, you should be famous, man.
I don't want to be
wrong,
famous.
and you're right.
Oh, well, there's nobody left. There's two of you retards here. What the fuck's the point of talking? Later.
Yep. I got to go to work. This was fun. StingRay, you there?
Yeah, I'm just playing about with live stream. This was just a test for me anyway, but I found it a little bit interesting. I was only listening in a little bit. I'm gonna mirror.
Yeah,
I'm gonna mirror Sean G. We're gonna do a test later on, me and Sean G. I'm gonna mirror his stream, using my software and my setup, and he's gonna have his stream with OBS Studio and stuff. And then we're gonna present the same content because it's gonna be the same kind of hangout, and I'm gonna see that'll be the final test before I choose what kind of software and system I'm gonna start using for live streaming.
Okay, cool. Hey, who was the guy the last time I was on? I think I was on a few days ago that had that model.
With the model?
That flat Earth model. I don't know if were you on that day?
And
he was.
I've probably got a flat Earth model. I've got a few flat Earth models.
It was another guy.
Oh, wait a minute. With vectors and stuff. He had it in SketchUp with a white background.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Tommy. It's from Sweden. I'm subscribed to his channel. Give me a sec. I'll drop his channel in the side chat. Give me a sec.
Yeah, because that was like perfect.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
no, and his observations are spot on, because he talks really quick, doesn't he? Yeah, it's called Tommy Grunwald, and his channel.
Okay, yeah, I'll check him out.
I'll put it in the side chat for you if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his channel.
Put it in. Can you put it in a YouTube chat as well?
Yeah.
So on YouTube.
Yeah, because he is. His observations for the globe and just using logic and are just second to none. It's just absolutely fantastic what he does. But anyway, I'm going to close this now, and I'll probably speak to you again later.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Take it easy, man.